Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Crafting and Crime Daily. I'm working on my diamond painting. Today, we're going to cover a couple of trials, the stolen reptile trial of William Zielinski, and we're going to update you on the Scott Peterson School Resource Officer trial. The prosecution has rested their case, and the defense is now putting on their case. So I will have that for you tomorrow. We do not know if the defendant is going to take the stand. Maybe by the time you watch this, we will know. Okay, so let's turn on my light pad. I've been packing for my retreat. I leave on Sunday. Can't wait. I don't know what kind of content I'm going to bring you next week. It just depends on what's going on. So we have a trial date for Donald Trump, August 14th. Now, unfortunately, it's federal court, and federal court does not have cameras in the courtroom. You get a sketch artist, but that'll probably be moved back. You know, Donald Trump is famous for kicking the can down the street, whatever you call that, kicking the can. Avoiding responsibility for his actions. Yes. Okay. So the reptile case, super interesting. The problem is I couldn't find the day one testimony. I finally found some day one testimony on through my research, but Law and Crime, I think they thought all the courts were going to be closed on Monday, so they didn't cover it on day one. They picked up on day two. But I did find out that on day one there was testimony from April Zielinski, that's Bill Zielinski's wife. But first, I want to talk about Bill Zielinski. First of all, here's what he looked like the day he was arrested, or the evening that he was arrested after the shooting of Riley Manente Powell, who was 18. Now, fast forward to what he looks like now. He has to be wheeled into the courtroom in a wheelchair. He is morbidly obese. Like, I'm obese, but this is like obese. I'm like, is this the same guy? Yeah. I don't know what happened to him in prison. So the judge had to explain to the jury when they came in, you know, the defendant is not standing when you come into the courtroom because of a disability. And please don't take any offense to that. He means no disrespect to you, blah, blah, blah. So, and a little bit about these animals that were stolen. So there was a lizard worth $17,000, a crocodile worth 2,000. First of all, how do you steal all this stuff? A lizard, a crocodile, and two snakes. There was a boa constrictor, a red tail boa constrictor, $575, and a baby Burmese python worth 7,000. How do you steal a crocodile? Like, first of all, why do you have a crocodile in your home? Oh my God, a crocodile? Like, I would not have any of these things near me. But I freaked out when I saw a baby bunny in my house, a little baby bunny worth nothing. This is what was stolen from him, Bill Zielinski, that day, October 19th of 2020. So then so April testified, and interestingly enough, she said she had no choice but to deal with Bill and Tiffany's relationship. Sure, you always have a choice, honey. Either go along with it, sister wives, which is apparently what you were doing, or get out of the marriage. Then there was Rowan, the 11-year-old. That's Tiffany's son. Now, April's the wife, Tiffany's the girlfriend. Tiffany was with Bill Zielinski the night of the shooting. She actually took the rifle, and he told her to hold her son at gunpoint. So Rowan takes the stand, and he overheard Bill say that he was going to taser and handcuff Riley. Then we hear from Officer Andrew Thorpe, who was the first to arrive on the scene. This guy has fresh-faced, out of the academy, only been on the road for a month when this thing occurs. So he's the first one on the scene. This is his first night on his own. And he comes upon this murder scene. So he immediately starts to try to resuscitate Riley, tries to do CPR, life-saving measures, and he noted that when he came on the scene, Bill Zielinski and Tiffany Powell were doing nothing. Now, I watched the video. Yesterday, the neighbor took the stand, and they brought in the Ring camera video, and it films things in 30-second bursts. So there were 3 30-second videos. So what happens in between each of those 30 seconds is not caught on camera. And it wasn't really explained. If it was explained, then it wasn't something I found in my research.
So this still all appears to be footage from your camera?
Yes.
Play it again.
Oh my God! No, no, please! No, please don't go! Oh my God! Oh my God!
So this neighbor heard a loud fight and then a gunshot, and then he rushed out there. You see the neighbor standing there, but you see Tiffany after the fact sobbing uncontrollably on the ground. So she's freaking out. So no, she was not attempting to resuscitate her son. I don't know if she had any medical knowledge or not. And then you see Bill Zielinski just standing over the guy's body. He's kind of frozen there. We do know that Bill Zielinski called 911 because we've heard the 911 tape, and he's very calm on the tape, but he's trained to be calm. He's a police officer. In addition to his business, Wild Bill Exotics, where he buys, sells, and trades these reptiles. Is that like eBay? Do you like bid on it, or how do you ship it? How do you ship a crocodile? Oh my God. Okay. I'm freaking out by these animals. Like, what? Okay. Back to the testimony. Next person to testify was the medical examiner, Dr. Adam Kovash. He testified that it was evident to him, that the cause of death was the gunshot wound, but the double barrel shotgun was pushed into his chest. And he knew that by the trajectory of usually when a rifle is fired, you see a wad like burst. He said he likened it to trap shooting. If you ever seen somebody trap shoot, you'll see this wad come out of the end of the gun. Well, he actually found that wad inside of Riley's body. So he said he would not have, if he was conscious, and he probably was not conscious after being shot, if he was conscious, he could have maybe lived for 15 to 20 seconds. So this was pretty much instant death. Toxicology was done, and Riley had in his system marijuana and methamphetamine. Now, the medical examiner said typical behavior with someone on methamphetamines is impulsivity, aggression, and violent outbursts. This is the victim. Yeah. Which may go along with what Bill Zelensky is saying happened that night. Here's what I saw in the video, and if I could if I can bring you the video, I'll insert it here. But here's what I saw, because it's chopped up. You don't actually see the actual shooting occurs in between video like 2 and 3. Video 1, you see a car. The first 30-second video, you see a car pulling up. Bill and Tiffany get out of the car. He hands her the rifle. Then you see in the next video, Bill and Riley are like doing this kind of a dance. Riley's kind of jumping around, like try to get me, try to get me. But here's what you hear Riley saying: "Put it down and fight like a man. Put it down and fight like a man." Because at some point he takes the rifle back. Then the last 30-second video is Tiffany standing by the car with the neighbor, and she's screaming, "You fucking killed him!" And I'm sorry about my language. I'm just quoting her. Please help him! Please help him! And then she collapses to the ground and she's sobbing. Then you see the police come onto the scene. And this police officer, when he testified, he said that, yes, he was new, and would he have done anything differently, knowing what he knows now? He says, well, knowing what I know now, I would have put Bill Zelensky in custody and telling him, instead of telling him just go sit on the curb. Yeah. In any case, interesting case so far. Now, let's talk about Scott Peterson. Day 7. He did not have a good day in court yesterday. Not a good day, because the prosecution saved the best witnesses for last. And that witness was Calvin Greenleaf, who, by the way, is so cute. Oh my God. He's a handsome fellow, and he's my age. I'm tempted to go look him up. He's a fitness instructor. But at the time of the shooting, he was a security specialist at the school. They had, now I've switched gears. We're now talking about the shooting that occurred on February 14th, Valentine's Day of 2018, by Nicholas Cruz, where 17 people were killed, 17 others injured, when Nicholas Cruz entered building 1200 of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School and started spraying gunfire on all 3 floors. Nobody was injured or killed on the second floor, thank God. But there were fatalities on the first floor and the third floor, and really severe injuries. And it is alleged that Scott Peterson failed to follow his training by heading towards the gunshots. Their allegation is, through the witnesses we've heard so far, is that he should have entered that building and disrupted the shooter, saving lives. Okay, I'll give you my thoughts on that later. So, on this campus, there are security monitors, and the monitors' jobs, we've heard from a monitor, their job is to observe and report. I should be diamond painting. So they're not allowed to act. They just observe and report. And then a step up from that, like a promotion, is security specialist. And then there's the student school resource officer, who is the only one of them that is armed. But this is a security team that they have at this 45-acre campus with over 3,000 students. So Calvin was a security specialist, former Army, former military, so he's very familiar with what a rifle sounds like when it's fired. So at the time of the shooting, he was in Building 1 in his office, which is across the hall from Scott Peterson's office. Scott was in his office working on his computer. So over the radio, he hears security monitor Medina say that he sees a suspicious person walking towards the 1200 building. So his job is to observe and report. So Calvin Greenleaf gets up, walks over to the school resource officer's, Scott Peterson's office, and he said, "Did you hear that?" And there's something going on over at building 1200. And he says, "Well, let's go check it out." So they get up, the two of them, and we see video, so we know what they were doing. So they get up, they walk out, they go out to a golf cart. They don't have a key. Calvin starts to walk back to the building to get the key when Medina comes up on his golf cart. So Calvin Greenleaf and Scott Peterson get into the golf cart. Now Scott gets into the front of the golf cart, the passenger seat with Medina, and Calvin Greenleaf is hanging on the back. So if anything was verbalized, here's the thing though, Scott Peterson, through his lawyer, we've heard, was charging his school radio. So Calvin was not positive that he heard Medina talk about this suspicious person going into building 1200. All he knows is that he went in there and he said, "Let's go check it out." And he's not sure what Scott had heard over the radio. They don't really have any conversation. So he's also not sure what Medina told him when they were driving from building 1 over toward building 12. So they get to building 12 and you see Greenleaf and Peterson get out of the golf cart at building 12 and they hear gunfire. Now this is the point where Scott Peterson gets on his radio and he talks about firecrackers, and then he says, "No, shots fired, shots." Well, he doesn't say no, he says shots fired. They're hearing shots. So Calvin said he heard them from inside the 1200 building, and this was clear to him. So he starts to walk over to building 7, which is just across the grass. So does Scott Peterson. Scott Peterson at this point does not enter the building. He goes over to stand near where Calvin Greenleaf is. And you can see Calvin Greenleaf on the video directing kids. Hey, because at this point the fire alarm's going off. Calvin had no memory of the fire alarm. Doesn't remember the fire alarm going off. He just knows kids were coming out of the building and he's telling them go back inside. He did hear. So I just want to get this correct here. Okay. So Calvin said he could tell that they were coming from inside the building, but he doesn't know if Scott Peterson knew that. He doesn't tell him that. So Scott Peterson tells the kids to get those kids back in their classroom. So that's what he was doing. Now Calvin says he saw 5 kids run out of the 1200 building, but he doesn't know if Scott Peterson saw that. He doesn't know if Scott had his back turned when he saw it, but he said, "I did see 5 kids run out of that building." Now, Calvin's job during a code red is to take cover and wait till the police come. Same as the teachers and the students, get to a safe place and stay there. This is what Calvin's job is supposed to be. But at some point, he leaves his post there at the building 7 and he runs south because he sees kids leaving the auditorium, and he tells them get back in there, and he's getting kids back into their classrooms. Then he went to the camera room and was assisting the assistant principal to get camera footage of, to see what was happening. They have the ability to watch live what is happening. And when they turned on the live feed, all they could see was smoke and debris and bodies. They couldn't make out what was happening at that point because of the smoke was so thick. So then they rewound it to what the recorded footage, and that's where they could see Nicholas Cruz. So Calvin Greenleaf expressed that he was very frustrated with Medina because he didn't say anything to them. And he knew exactly what was going on inside with Nicholas Cruz inside that building, but didn't say anything to Scott Peterson. He says it would have taken a lot of the guesswork out of what we were doing. Now, he was asked to describe what was Scott Peterson, what was his demeanor at this point when you hear the gunshots and you're running over to the 7 building. He said Scott had a blank look on his face, but he was talking into his radio and he was sweating. Okay. So then we have another campus. This is a security monitor that comes on the stand, a former Marine. Now, at the time of the gunfire, he was out in the athletic office talking to, one of the coaches. He heard the fire alarm go off. So his duty during a fire alarm is to get people evacuated out of building 7. So he gets in his golf cart and he shows the jury the route that he took to get to building 7. And he said he got to between building, like to the end of building 13 and the west of building 12 when he saw Aaron Feist's body on the ground. When he saw that, at this point he could hear gunfire. So he put that golf cart in reverse and headed backwards because he's like, nope, I'm out of here. That my job is, to take cover. So he took his golf cart. First, he runs into the Coral Springs officer that was at the baseball field, and he tells him what he saw. He says, Aaron Feist is on the ground. And then he proceeds to go to the elementary school. He opens the gate and he's ushering kids onto the grounds of the elementary school, which is adjacent to this high school. So he is saying that it was when he saw the body and heard the gunshots, he said he got on the school radio and said code red. Now there's some dispute because other people have said it was Scott Peterson that called the code red. He is saying he called the code red. So both of these men described Scott Peterson, very dependable. If there was a fight, he would jump in. He never hesitated. He never saw him do any acts of cowardice. He was very dependable, professional. And the security monitor testified that there was a tremendous echo with all those buildings close together. He says, and we were always hearing firecrackers or those bullhorns and all that would echo where this was. So that was the testimony yesterday. That was prosecution ended their case there, and now the defense is putting on their case. Yes. Deep breath. I need a sip of coffee before we proceed. I'm still freaked out about this crocodile. Yeah. Leave me a comment below if you would purchase a crocodile for your home. My cats and dogs would freak out. Okay. Tonight at 7 p.m., I'm moving my live from 6:30 to 7. I used to be at 6. It's going to be at 7 Central Time. It just works out better time-wise for me, and I think for you guys as well who are coming home from work and that kind of thing. So 7 p.m. Central Time, I will be live. I am having a giveaway tonight. I'm giving away 2 diamond paintings. So two giveaways. I'm going to put all of my members' names on a wheel, and all of my Patreons will be on the wheel as well. I'm going to spin the wheel twice and give away 2 diamond paintings. So you must be a member or a Patreon. So you've got a few hours before the live tonight. If you're seeing this after live tonight, I would still really appreciate your support by becoming a member or Patreon and supporting the content of this channel. Yes. Okay, guys. I hope you have a great Wednesday. I'll see you either tonight in Craft With Me Wednesday for the giveaway. You don't have to be present to win either. You can become a member and your name will still be there, and I'll get in touch with you if you're the winner. You don't have to be present at the live to win. So I will see you tonight or tomorrow in Crafting Good Crime Daily. Take care, everybody. Bye.